Have you ever caught yourself tolerating things that make your stomach turn just because you didn't want to stir the pot? Ever had that moment where someone's words or actions make you feel invisible, like you're just background noise in your own life? It's like standing in the rain without an umbrella, getting drenched with every word, every glance, and all you can do is stand there. Ever felt that? It's time we face the hard truth. Some behaviors are toxic, and they don't just go away if we ignore them. They slowly eat away at our peace, confidence, and happiness. But here's the kicker. The longer you tolerate them, the more you lose sight of what truly matters. Today, we're diving into the 8 behaviors you should never tolerate, because once you stop accepting them, you start taking control of your life. But before we dive in, pay attention to this story, which will help you better understand the wisdom in this material. The story of Arin, the lines we draw. In a bustling city, there lived a young artist named Arin. Known for her soft-spoken nature and willingness to help, she was loved by many. But beneath her quiet demeanor lay a growing frustration. People often overstepped boundaries with her, and though she felt it, she never spoke up. "It's not worth the argument," she'd tell herself, brushing aside her discomfort. Her friend Zara always asked for free sketches, promising exposure in return, but never delivering on her word. Arin's landlord barged into her apartment unannounced, claiming he was checking for repairs. Even her co-worker Neil would openly take credit for her ideas during team meetings. Each time, Arin swallowed her resentment, convincing herself that staying quiet was the nicer thing to do. One rainy evening, Arin was sketching in her studio when an elderly woman entered. The woman, dressed in a long coat with a faint air of mystery, admired Arin's work. "You have talent," she said, "but your lines are too faint." Confused, Arin replied, "I sketch lightly so I can erase mistakes." The woman smiled knowingly. "But some lines should never be erased, no matter how others try. If you don't draw your boundaries boldly, others will draw over them." Before Arin could ask what she meant, the woman placed a small, polished stone on the table and left. The stone gleamed faintly, etched with the word clarity. Intrigued, Arin kept it. That night, Arin couldn't stop thinking about the woman's words. Her mind wandered to Zara's demands, her landlord's invasions, and Neil's manipulations. Each instance replayed like a haunting melody. The next day, something shifted. Zara called, asking for another free sketch. This time, Arin replied firmly, "I value my work, Zara. If you'd like a piece, I'll need to charge for it." Zara laughed awkwardly and hung up. Later, her landlord tried to enter her apartment unannounced, but Arin met him at the door. "You need to give me notice before entering," she said firmly. He hesitated, then grumbled an apology. At work, when Neil began presenting her ideas as his own, Arin interrupted. "Actually, that was my suggestion," she said calmly, holding his gaze. The room fell silent, but no one questioned her again. With each bold step, Arin felt a weight lift from her chest. The more she stood up for herself, the more she realized how much she had tolerated in the name of peace. One evening, as she placed the stone on her desk, its faint gleam seemed brighter. Arin smiled, finally understanding its meaning. Clarity comes when we draw bold lines, protecting what matters. What happens to the stone ahead? Does it break? I'll tell you in a little while, but before that, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. But here's the question Arin's story leaves us with. What are the invisible lines we let others cross in our lives? There are certain behaviors we must never tolerate, no matter how uncomfortable it feels to address them. In the next part, I'll share the 8 behaviors you should never accept from anyone. These aren't just rules, they're safeguards for your self-respect, peace, and happiness. Stay tuned. Number 1. Emotional blackmail. Now let's dive into the next chapter of Arin's journey, where she faces a different challenge, emotional blackmail. But first, let me ask you this. Have you ever found yourself doing something you didn't want to do, just because someone said, if you really cared about me, you'd do this? That's emotional blackmail, an insidious form of manipulation that uses guilt, fear, or obligation to control your actions. It's subtle but powerful, like an invisible chain binding you to someone else's demands, leaving you feeling cornered and powerless. What makes emotional blackmail so effective is that it often comes from those closest to us, partners, friends, or even family. Their words sting because of the emotional connection we share. Imagine a friend saying, "If you don't lend me money, I'll never trust you again." It might sound like a heartfelt plea, but it's a calculated threat meant to make you feel guilty and comply. Let's start the story from where we left off. Arin had carried the mysterious stone since the night it helped her control her anger. It had become her guide, symbolic of her growing ability to stay calm. But one evening, while reflecting on her progress, something unexpected happened. The stone cracked. Startled, Arin noticed a hidden message beneath the chipped surface. "Your power is your choice." The words stayed with her, especially when she faced her next test, not anger but manipulation. A close friend approached, eyes full of guilt. "If you really cared about me, you'd do this for me," they said, their voice laced with emotion. In the past, Arin might have caved, feeling responsible for their feelings. But now, with the cracked stone in her pocket, she remembered its lesson. Taking a deep breath, Arin replied calmly, "I care about you, but I can't let guilt dictate my actions. My choices are my own." Her response was steady and firm, breaking the chain of emotional blackmail that had once bound her. In that moment, Arin understood. Emotional manipulation only works if we allow it. The stone, with its crack and hidden wisdom, was a reminder that even under pressure, her peace and autonomy were hers to protect. But as Arin walked away, a question lingered. If emotional blackmail is so dangerous, what other subtle behaviors could threaten my peace? The journey wasn't over yet. The stone had more lessons to offer, and Arin was ready for the next one. Number 2. Weaponizing your vulnerabilities. Have you ever shared your deepest fears or struggles with someone, believing they'd offer support, only to have them throw it back in your face? It's a gut-wrenching betrayal, and yet it happens all too often. This is what we call weaponizing your vulnerabilities. It's not just a low blow. It's a calculated move to hurt you, control you, or make you doubt yourself. Arin's journey with the stone didn't just teach her about emotional blackmail. It opened her eyes to another painful truth. Not everyone respects the trust you give them. Vulnerabilities, which should bond us closer to others, can become weapons in the hands of the wrong people. One evening, she confided in a close friend about her struggles with self-doubt, a part of herself she rarely revealed. She thought sharing it would bring understanding, but months later, during a disagreement, the same friend turned her words against her. "No wonder you're always second-guessing yourself. You can't handle anything." The words stung like a knife, not just because they were hurtful, but because they came from someone she trusted. That's when it hit her. Her vulnerability wasn't the problem. It was the person who chose to exploit it. Remembering the message etched into her cracked stone, "Your power is your choice," Arin realized this was a test. She could let the betrayal define her, or she could rise above it. She calmly responded, "I shared that because I trusted you, not for you to use it as ammunition. I won't let it hurt me." In that moment, Arin took back her power. Vulnerabilities, she learned, aren't weaknesses. They're proof of strength. The courage it takes to face fears and open up isn't for everyone to understand. Some will misuse it, but that's on them, not you. But the journey didn't end there. This incident made Erin wonder, what other ways do people manipulate us without us noticing? If even trust could be turned against her, what other subtle tactics should she watch for? The cracked stone hadn't revealed its full lesson yet. Something deeper was waiting. Imagine this: you open up about a past failure, maybe a time when you struggled with something deeply personal. Later, in the middle of an argument, you hear something like, "No wonder you failed, you've always been bad at this." It's like they've taken your trust, twisted it, and aimed it straight at your heart. And what's worse, they know exactly what they're doing. People who weaponize your vulnerabilities do it to gain power over you. They see your openness as a weakness and exploit it to shift the balance of control in their favor. But let me tell you something, it's not about you, it's about them. Their behavior reveals their own insecurities and lack of emotional maturity. Unfortunately, that doesn't make it hurt any less. This is where Stoic philosophy comes to the rescue. Stoics believed in owning your emotions and not letting others dictate your self-worth. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Reject your sense of injury, and the injury itself disappears." It's not about pretending the hurt didn't happen, it's about refusing to let it define you. So, how do you respond when someone uses your vulnerabilities against you? First, recognize their words for what they are, an attempt to manipulate and control you. The problem isn't your vulnerability, it's their inability to respect it. Stay calm, no matter how much their words sting. A composed response like, "I shared that with you because I trusted you. I won't let you use it against me," can shut them down without escalating the situation. Next, set boundaries. You don't owe anyone the privilege of your trust if they've proven they don't deserve it. Be selective about who you open up to, and never let someone convince you that your struggles define your worth. In fact, your ability to face and overcome challenges is what makes you strong. People who weaponize your vulnerabilities want you to feel small, but when you stand firm, you show them that their words have no power over you. Remember, your value isn't determined by someone else's cheap shots. It's rooted in the courage it took to confront your fears and grow from them. The next time someone tries to use your past against you, smile. Not because it's okay, but because you know better. You're stronger than their words, wiser than their games, and far beyond their reach. If you've watched the video this far, make sure to comment "Thank God" to let us know you're with us. Number 3, behavior. Mocking your values or beliefs. Have you ever had someone laugh at something you deeply believe in, dismissing it as foolish or outdated? They might say, "You actually believe that? That's ridiculous." And suddenly, your most sacred values are under attack, like they're not worth a second thought. This is what it feels like when someone mocks your values or beliefs. And it's not just disrespectful, it's an attack on who you are. When someone mocks what you stand for, it's more than just a difference of opinion. It's an attempt to undermine the very foundation of your identity. Whether it's your spiritual beliefs, your personal morals, or the values that guide your life, having them ridiculed is not just hurtful, it's meant to make you question yourself and your worth. But why do people do this? More often than not, mocking others' beliefs is a reflection of insecurity, not strength. When someone doesn't understand or agree with your values, they resort to mocking because it's easier to tear something down than to engage with it. It's about making you feel small so they can feel superior. But here's the truth. Their mockery says more about their inability to comprehend than it does about your beliefs. Stoic wisdom provides us with a powerful lesson in these situations. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." The key here is not letting others' ridicule define your sense of self. You have every right to stand firm in what you believe, regardless of whether it's accepted by others. So, how do you handle mockery? First, recognize that it's just noise. Their words are not a reflection of your truth, and you don't have to engage with every piece of criticism that comes your way. Respond calmly and with dignity. I respect that we see things differently, but I won't let anyone belittle what I believe in. Setting that boundary not only protects your beliefs, but also demonstrates that you won't let anyone diminish your sense of self-worth. And remember, your beliefs and values are yours to own. No one can take them away from you unless you allow it. The next time someone mocks what you hold dear, stand tall and remind yourself that your values are the bedrock of your character. Their mockery will fade, but the strength of your beliefs will remain solid, unwavering, and true. Number 4, public shaming or belittling. Have you ever been in a situation where someone criticizes or mocks you in front of others? It might start with a sarcastic comment or an offhand joke, but before you know it, you're the center of attention for all the wrong reasons. Whether it's a friend, colleague, or even a family member, public shaming or belittling is a toxic tactic that aims to lower your self-esteem and humiliate you in front of others. The damage of public shaming isn't just in the words, they linger long after the conversation ends. Being belittled in front of others can make you feel small, insignificant, and unworthy. You start to question your value, wondering if people really see you the way they do in those moments. What's worse, it creates a power imbalance. The person who mocks or criticizes you gains temporary control, while you're left feeling vulnerable and exposed. So why do people resort to public shaming? Often it's about control. By belittling you in front of others, they're trying to assert dominance or elevate their own status at your expense. It's an attempt to make you feel less than, to make you doubt yourself so they can feel superior. But here's the truth, their actions say more about their insecurities than they do about you. No one who truly respects you would try to tear you down in public. Stoicism offers us a powerful response to public shaming. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, said, "The best revenge is not to be like that." In other words, when someone tries to belittle you, the most powerful thing you can do is not let their negativity affect your inner peace. Your worth is not determined by their words, no matter how loudly they try to make you believe otherwise. So how do you handle public shaming? The first step is to remain calm and composed. Don't let their words rattle you or provoke an emotional response. By staying calm, you not only show that their attempts to hurt you have no power, but you also maintain control over your own dignity. If you feel comfortable, calmly assert yourself. "I don't appreciate being spoken to that way in front of others. I'd prefer we discuss this privately." Setting that boundary is an important step in protecting yourself from further disrespect. And remember, you don't need to justify yourself to anyone who doesn't treat you with kindness and respect. Finally, remember, you don't need anyone's approval to validate your worth. The next time someone tries to shame or belittle you publicly, don't internalize their words. Instead, remind yourself that your value is not defined by their inability to respect you. Public shaming may hurt in the moment, but it does not have the power to diminish who you are. So, stand tall, hold your head high, and remember that your self-worth is not up for debate. In the face of public shaming, your dignity and inner peace will always be your most powerful response. If any of the points resonated with you, be sure to comment, "Thank God I learned it," to share your thoughts and let us know how it connected. Number 5, overstepping financial boundaries. Have you ever felt pressured by someone to spend money you didn't want to, or maybe borrow more than you could afford? It starts with a seemingly innocent remark like, "You can afford it, stop being so stingy." But before you know it, you're being pushed into making financial decisions that don't align with your values, priorities, or even your budget. That's what happens when someone oversteps your financial boundaries. And it's a form of manipulation that can seriously undermine your financial stability. It doesn't matter whether it's a friend, a family member, or a partner. When someone pressures you to spend money irresponsibly, they're not respecting your boundaries. They're trying to make you feel guilty for prioritizing your financial well-being. They might use guilt, judgment, or even guilt-trip you by saying things like, "Well, if you really cared about me, you'd help out." Or, "It's not that much, you should just buy it." Their aim is simple: to convince you that your financial security isn't as important as their desires or needs. Why do people do this? Sometimes it's because they don't have the same respect for money or responsibility that you do. They might not understand the consequences of living beyond their means, or they might simply be using your financial flexibility to their advantage. But here's the truth: your money is yours to control. No one should be able to dictate how you spend, save, or invest it, especially if it compromises your well-being. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. The Stoics taught us that self-control and discipline are essential for a peaceful life. As Seneca wisely said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." When you respect your own boundaries, especially in regard to money, you're not just protecting your financial future, you're asserting your freedom and autonomy. Your financial decisions should come from a place of mindfulness, not pressure. So, how do you deal with someone overstepping your financial boundaries? The first step is to assert your boundaries clearly and confidently. If someone pressures you to spend money on something you're not comfortable with, simply say, "I've set a budget for myself, and I'm sticking to it. It's not about being stingy, it's about being responsible with my finances." If they continue to pressure you, calmly and firmly repeat your stance. Next, don't feel guilty about protecting your financial peace. No one is entitled to your money unless you choose to give it. Practice saying no when it's necessary, without over-explaining or justifying your choices. You don't need to apologize for taking care of your own needs and goals. And remember, financial independence isn't just about the money in your bank account. It's about having the freedom to make decisions that align with your values without being manipulated by others. Stand firm in your financial boundaries, and don't let anyone make you feel bad for choosing responsibility over indulgence. The next time someone pressures you into spending beyond your limits, stand tall and say, "I'm in control of my finances, and I'm making the decisions that are best for me, your money, your rules, and no one should overstep that boundary." Number 6, ignoring your emotional needs. Have you ever shared your feelings with someone only for them to brush it off with something like, "You're overreacting, it's not that serious"? That sharp sting is more than just a casual dismissal. It's emotional neglect. And when someone refuses to acknowledge or validate your emotions, it's like they're telling you that you don't matter. This is what happens when your emotional needs are ignored. It's not just about having your feelings disregarded, it's about being made to feel like you're not worthy of emotional support. The message it sends is clear. Your pain, your joy, your fears, none of it is important enough to warrant attention or understanding. Why do people act this way? Sometimes it's because they don't know how to handle emotions, either their own or anyone else's. Maybe they've been taught to suppress their feelings, so they think everyone else should do the same. Or perhaps they feel uncomfortable when someone opens up, so they shut it down with judgment. But whatever the reason, the result is the same: emotional disconnect. Stoicism teaches us that our peace of mind doesn't rely on others' approval. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." While others may choose to dismiss or belittle your feelings, you have the power to decide how much weight you give their words. Don't allow someone else's refusal to validate you to diminish your self-worth. When faced with emotional invalidation, don't let their words push you into silence or doubt. Recognize it for what it is, a failure to understand, not a reflection of your truth. Respond calmly, and if necessary, set a boundary. "I understand you may not see it that way, but my feelings are real, and I need you to respect them." You don't have to justify your emotions, but you do have the right to expect respect for them. And remember, your feelings are valid, even if someone else doesn't acknowledge them. Your emotional landscape is yours to own, and no one else gets to tell you how you should feel. By honoring your own emotional needs, you show yourself the same respect that you deserve from others. The next time someone tells you you're overreacting, it's not that serious, take a deep breath. Stay grounded in your truth and remind yourself that your feelings matter. Because in the end, emotional validation doesn't come from others. It comes from within. And once you learn to validate yourself, no one can take that power away from you. Number 7, constant negativity. Have you ever been around someone whose negativity feels like a weight on your shoulders? Every conversation turns into a complaint. Every opportunity becomes a reason to doubt. And no matter what you say, it's met with pessimism. At first, you try to lift them up, to offer a positive perspective, but after a while, it starts to feel like you're the one being drained. That's what constant negativity does. It slowly wears you down, leaving you feeling exhausted and hopeless. Think about it. Negativity is like a leech. It attaches itself to your conversations, your thoughts, and even your plans. You share an exciting idea, and immediately they're there to point out all the reasons it will fail. You try to stay optimistic, but their words are like a weight pulling you back into the darkness. And the worst part? It's not just about them. It's about how their negativity starts to infect you too. The longer you're around it, the harder it is to maintain your own positive outlook. Why do some people operate this way? Often, it's because they feel stuck in their own life, caught in a cycle of dissatisfaction or fear. Instead of facing their own struggles head-on, they project their frustrations onto others. It's easier to drag someone else down than to climb out of their own negative mindset. But here's the harsh truth. Their negativity isn't your burden to bear. Stoic wisdom offers a powerful antidote. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful Stoics, taught, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." When faced with constant negativity, it's essential to remember that you have the power to choose how much influence it has on you. You can't change the negativity of others, but you can control your own response to it. So, how do you deal with constant negativity? The first step is to protect your energy. Recognize when it's draining you and set clear boundaries. You don't need to engage in every conversation that leads nowhere but down. If someone constantly brings negativity into your life, politely redirect or excuse yourself from the conversation. It's not about ignoring them. It's about preserving your mental and emotional peace. Next, remind yourself that you are not responsible for fixing their mindset. You can offer support and empathy, but you are not obligated to carry their weight. Surround yourself with people who uplift you, whose energy is contagious in a positive way. These relationships will help protect your own vitality and keep you grounded. And finally, remember, negativity only has power if you let it. Practice mindfulness and focus on the things you can control. You can choose to look at the world with optimism, even in the face of challenges. A positive mindset isn't about ignoring reality. It's about choosing to see the possibilities, even when others can't. The next time someone's constant negativity starts to wear you down, pause and remember, you are not a sponge for their despair. You have the power to set boundaries, protect your peace, and choose joy. Surround yourself with light and let the darkness fade into the background. Number 8, disrespect for your boundaries. Have you ever said no to someone only to have them push harder, ignore your boundaries, or even guilt trip you into changing your mind? It starts with a simple request, and when you refuse, they keep pressing, convincing you that your no isn't good enough. Whether it's a friend, family member, or colleague, when people ignore your boundaries, they're sending a clear message. Your needs don't matter. And that's not just disrespectful. It's manipulative. Setting boundaries is an essential part of maintaining your mental and emotional well-being. It's how you protect your time, your energy, and your peace of mind. But when someone continuously ignores or disrespects those boundaries, they're trying to take something from you, your right to make decisions about your own life and your own limits. Why do people do this? Often it's because they feel entitled to your time, energy, or resources, or because they've learned that pushing your limits will get them what they want. They may guilt trip you, use manipulation, or make you feel selfish for saying no. But here's the truth. Your boundaries are not negotiable. You have every right to say no without having to explain yourself or feel guilty. Stoic wisdom teaches us the importance of inner strength and self-respect. As Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Setting and enforcing boundaries isn't about being selfish or harsh. It's about taking control of your own life and protecting your peace. You deserve to have your limits respected, and anyone who ignores them is showing a lack of respect for you as a person. So how do you handle someone who disrespects your boundaries? The first step is to stand firm in your no. Don't allow guilt or pressure to make you change your mind. When someone pushes your limits, repeat your stance calmly and assertively. "I've already made my decision, and I'm not going to change it." If they continue to push, set a stronger boundary. "I've asked you to respect my limits, and I expect that to be honored." Next, if someone repeatedly ignores your boundaries, consider distancing yourself from them. The more you tolerate this behavior, the more they will try to take advantage of your kindness. Remember, you don't owe anyone an explanation for protecting your own peace. Finally, remind yourself that boundaries are essential to maintaining healthy relationships. If someone truly values you, they will respect your limits, not try to break them down. You don't need to be rude or aggressive. You just need to be clear, consistent, and unyielding in your stance. The next time someone disrespects your boundaries, don't back down. Stand firm in your decision. Protect your peace, and never let anyone make you feel that your no isn't enough. Your boundaries are a reflection of your self-worth, and anyone who disregards them is showing you exactly how little they value you. If you've watched the video this far, make sure to comment "Thank God" to let us know you're with us.